All right, welcome to the Apex Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Al-Qattan. First in-person episode. I'm super excited. And today my guest is Areej Saleh. How are you, Areej?
I'm good. How's it going?
Doing well. Yeah, thanks for joining me. This is very different than being on Zoom. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of your journey.
thanks. I appreciate it. Do you mind just giving like a brief introduction about yourself, just kind of what you do? Who is Areej Saleh?
Um, Areej is an artist, creative, a writer, someone who likes to play around. I just like to play. Um, I'm a community builder, so I set up ArtScene, which is a community-based platform for creatives and artists and writers and performers and dancers to just kind of come together and meet up and connect with each other through creativity. Um, I'm also a math teacher for now. For a little bit, I did 2 years of teaching to kind of parachute myself into events and community organizing. Um, I don't know. I can identify with a lot of things. I'm an engineer. I went to engineering school. That was kind of BS. I'm a Palestinian, which is a big part of my identity.
Okay.
Um, yeah. I could keep going on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as much as you want.
Um, well, we have all kinds of identity labels. I'm a driver.
Okay.
I'm a cook. I don't know. You could do all kinds of things. Just name nouns that you are.
What's the most true to your core? What's the identity that like is most authentic to you, do you think, or most true to you, if there is one?
Well, the character I'm playing now is a creative,
Okay.
which is cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's something you just like put on like clothes, right? The identity. Is that how you see it?
I think you choose, yeah, I think you choose to be it, to like not pigeonhole, but to just become this person that sees life through here, through this. And creativity is easy because, or for me at least, because it leads with curiosity. And I like to lead with curiosity. I like to question things and see the beauty in things. And I think that's nice. I could, switch it up and start seeing things through a pessimistic point of view, maybe, or I went mathematical for a while. I still kind of switched to that sometimes.
You like math.
I love math. It's kind of fading away a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I like to lead with questions. So I think creative. But yeah, I definitely think it's a choice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because if I just went really deep into driving, I'd become a driver. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I said driver, but do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then I kind of want to allude to like, is there an underlying, like, is there something behind that even, or are we just like, I don't know, there's this like idea with identity where you are really just like nothingness.
Yeah.
And then you just like adopt these different identities temporarily.
Sure.
But some people are like, no, I disagree with that. There's an underlying ever-changing core that's true to yourself.
If it's ever changing, then it's infinite, right?
If it's not, if it's no, not ever-changing, sorry. Like unchanging, I meant.
Yeah, like a purpose.
Yes. Or like a core that's just solid and rigid.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that because a lot of people are like, oh, I've been wanting to do this since I was like 8 years old, which I think in the formative years is like, that's it. There's not much you can do once you're formed into that shape. You either chase it or you don't. But on the journey to that or on the journey around that, I think you can change for sure and become all kinds of things. And you can choose to chase the formative year desire or wish, or you can choose not to. And that's a part of it too, is like identifying with the childhood or the childlike thing, wonder.
Yeah. Your inner child, your desire, your life's purpose.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a life's purpose? How did we get here? I just said my name.
I know. This has gone pretty deep, pretty fast. Do I think there's a life's purpose? Or like there's like a concrete personality, I guess, or like being behind these different identities that we adopt, like clothes? Um, I don't know. That's something I haven't really thought of, but yeah, no, I definitely feel like there it's like a spectrum. Like there are things that are more authentic and less authentic, and it really is rooted in childhood.
For sure.
I think so, because that's where like
For sure. Yeah. But I don't think anything remains pure. That's the thing. Is that we're so sensitive to the world around us, to the marketing and just the symbols that are around us and the teaching and the education that I don't think you can be purely your purpose or like understand purely what you're supposed to do.
so there's a song that you put on your story this one time that I really liked. It's called Deny Everything by Circle Jerks. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that's like do you kind of take on that meaning, or is it just like a cool song? Like, because there it is kind of deep if you think of it. It kind of reminds me of like they call it Cartesian skepticism, where you like deny. You heard of it before? That's all, yeah. So you deny everything around you, and that's how you find truth when you see through all the lies around you, and you're left with this like grain of truth, I guess, in reality or within the world. And his conclusion was consciousness itself. Like, I think, therefore I am, right? That's essentially him saying that. He was trying to deny everything around him, and then the only thing that was left was his own experience. Yeah. Even if his experience was an illusion, he still was experiencing that illusion. So it's an experience.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Had you listened to the song before I put it on?
I was familiar with Circle Jerks. I like punk a lot. But not the song specifically, no. Because it's really short. And it's like the intro, it's kind of like a random and obscure, you know, like it's not like their hit single.
No,
It's
no,
just
it's just like
this is the first track.
yeah, I think it's a good question. I think I maybe not that song specifically, but there's a reason why that song specifically. Like I don't think of things in coincidences or um the things that we attract or are attracted to are giving us hints as to who we are or who we are in the moment or what we're looking for. And my time with punk, I think, is still so important to me, and the organizing that I do and the way that I move about the world. I'm so, and then we talked about this. I'm so anti-authoritarian. I'm so like f the man. We have to revolutionize and decolonize and all of these things, and part of growing up and being within the system and trying to work overground, which is what I'm trying to do, is realizing that I can't be moving with that in mind, with F the man in mind. Because the man sometimes is the person that you have to work around to get the things that you want and to see the change that you want. So when you say deny, like now when I listen to all the punk music, like Deny Everything, it it sucks, man. I was like, I'm never gonna be like those people, but you grow up and you realize. Now when I listen to Deny Everything, I'm like, this is actively living in contrast to the environment around you, and it's fine to live that way, but it's so much more fun to try to live in harmony. And I don't mean harmony in a way that like conformity. I mean harmony in a way where you can exist as your true self while also realizing that everybody is existing in the way that they can and the way that they have the capacity to. So the man is existing because the man must exist for you to be anti-man.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
I see.
So if there was no man, then I wouldn't have anything to fight against.
That's a double entendre right there. The man as in the machine, but also like
The man, yeah, whatever.
Okay, that was
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
if I didn't have, if there was no resistance and no status quo, then how do you shift it? You know, you can't be angry at the things that you want to change. You just kind of do it.
This is some like yin yang stuff, right? Like you can't have the black without the white,
Yeah.
which is kind of depressing because actually I don't know. It's just it seems circular. Like we're not moving anywhere, you know? Like the yin yang stuff, I get that it's like deep and wise and it's like rooted in ancient wisdom, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel trapped. Like, oh, it means it makes me feel sometimes that nothing matters, you know? Like no matter how much good there is, there's always going to be an equal amount of evil. Going off of that like line of thinking, do you have the same kind of
Yeah, I absolutely believe that anything good comes with the same amount of evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, so for me, it's really apparent because the more you chase, or not chase, but the more you acquire, I guess, or the more light you see, the more shadow is cast. So
so what's the point of life? What's the point of trying to get a better life? Because it's going to be at the expense of someone else, or you're just going to end up miserable anyways, right? That's kind of where I'm coming from. Like it can breed nihilism, I think, or like purposelessness. Like, oh,
it's just gonna come with the equal amounts of shadow. No, I think you accept the shadow,
Okay.
and then you just see the wheel as it is.
I see.
And if you pay respect to the shadow, and you say, "Okay, cool, thanks for coming through,"
Okay.
then the light is so much more fun because you're not sitting here
Yeah.
in worry or anxiety of the shadow. You're just like, "Oh, he's coming anyway, so I might as well enjoy the light."
have you paid respect to your shadow?
I try to. It's hard in Kuwait. It's hard in Kuwait. We don't talk about the shadow at all.
Really?
I don't think we do. About the shadow of humanity?
How
We
so?
talk about it in a way where we have to repress everything. And this is getting to parts where maybe we can't really talk about, but um, we try to repress a lot. And we don't talk about what to do with the shadow. We just say, oh, this is the shadow, forget about it, or don't listen to it, or people who follow the shadow are um, inherently bad and won't go to heaven and all these things. But where's the acceptance that these things are real, that they're part of humanity, that they're part of being human?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's um, that's a good book.
Oh,
I
it's
think
a book.
it's
You're,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's hard to have conversations about natural human things without scaring people off.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing a shift. I mean, people don't like we don't talk about drugs, or I don't see many conversations about drugs. I'm sure there are, and I don't claim to know that we don't talk about drugs. Like, but I just don't see many conversations about drugs um, and addiction and how to navigate drugs and addiction. I have been seeing some stuff come up. I think there's like uh, I always want to say karma, but you guys don't say that, but Kuwaiti. What's
Karma?
karma is like a post, like a sign on the street
Okay.
in Palestinian. What do you call it?
I don't
In
know.
Kuwaiti, I don't know the street signs.
Okay.
Um, I think I saw some stuff about addiction. Maybe I'm just not in those centers or in those circles.
Yeah.
Um, mental health is a big thing. Mental illness, like it's so easy to just forget, to just live. Oh, go pray, go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that. But then, what are we talking about? Like, what's the belly of the beast? What's in it? What's happening in the behind closed doors? Um, and I don't know. We don't pay respects to our shadows. I don't think, and it took me a while, and I still don't. I still want to just forget about it and not face it and just pretend like I can live without ever thinking about it.
So you're saying the, I guess, not embracing the shadow or hiding away from it in this culture in Kuwait has affected you personally, and it's easier to do it when you're outside. Is that what kind of you're alluding to?
It's easier to do it when I'm outside. Is a good question. I think I was still repressing.
Okay.
I think it's
You said out.
yeah,
Because I'm
it's
in
hard
Kuwait.
to do it because I'm in Kuwait. Yeah.
Well, it could be local reasons. It could just be that you live near your parents. It's really busy here,
Everybody
you
knows
know.
everybody.
Where do you think that this is something I'm so interested in? Like, why do you think that is? Why do you think there's such resistance of looking bad? I think that's really what it is. Like, we could go deep into the shadow, but it's like it's almost like there's an obsession with image. And all humans are obsessed with image to a certain degree, but I feel like it's more and less in different cultures. Obviously, I'm from here, so I grew up around here. I see it, I see it, I guess maybe to a stronger degree here, but again, I don't know. I think it's just I notice it more because it's my home country. Whereas in the West, maybe I just don't notice it as much. Like I give them the benefit of the doubt because like I'm like an outsider there a little bit. But I don't know.
Mm. Like an image, like an obsession with image. I think there's a lot of places in the West where people are obsessed with image.
Yeah.
I think it just might be again the same. There's the same type of people in every corner of the world, and they just speak different languages. I think so. There is always gonna be people who are obsessed with image and people who are obsessed with seeming like they're perfect and seeming like they don't have any flaws, versus people who kind of accept um, the flawed nature of being a human.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe this area is just smaller, and there's a majority of people who. I mean, there's a mix too within the majority. I grew up with this idea of like us versus them a lot, and the more I interact, the more it's just it falls apart. There is no us, there is no them.
Us versus them with who, in regards to who, if you don't mind me asking.
In Kuwait, there's a really big us versus them complex, or not complex, but this idea that you won't be accepted in certain areas, and there is, and absolutely, and I try not to speak on behalf of people who are actually like who actually not fall victim, but who actually feel that. And you're absolutely able to feel like you don't belong in some places, and you feel like you don't feel safe in some places. But sometimes we have to create our own safety and our own sense of safety, and sometimes that comes with, you know, um, accepting who you are, and accepting who you are in terms of the bigger space that you're in. And if there's even an ounce of, oh my God, I'm a foreigner or I'm an alien, then you're gonna get confirmation bias, and you're just gonna start confirming that you're an alien everywhere that you go. But if you accept your alienation, or not your alienation, but the fact that you're a human being in the way that you're a human being, and everybody else is the way that they are, then you stop confirming to yourself that you're a freak. You know what I mean? And I did this for a long time. I was like, oh, I'm a freak. So I would go around and say, I'm a freak, I'm a freak, I'm a freak. And then everybody would say, oh, she's a freak. Because I'm telling myself and telling the world around me that I'm a freak.
Acting like that.
And I'm acting like a freak.
Manifest it.
Yeah, whatever. You just create the reality that you are, whatever Instagram says. But yeah, and this is a big part. Like I try not to, and art scene sometimes becomes that a little bit. This idea that we are like special in some sort of way because a lot of us speak English, or we're a little bit more diverse in some spaces, or whatever it is. And I try not to do that. I try not to hark on that. Because we're just here, and of course there's gonna be a scene of people who are all gonna hang out with each other, especially if we're looking at it through the lens of creativity. Does that inherently mean that there must be an us versus them, that we're revolting, that we're whatever? I'm like, I don't know, but we might be finding some contradiction in the words.
So this seems like it's, correct me if I'm wrong, a big part of your upbringing, this us versus them tension. And it's kind of seems like it's, no, I mean,
Yeah,
in the sense of
I'm like agreeing with you.
your wounds create your wisdom. And now here you are, you're a community organizer, with ArtScene. And I do want to ask you a little bit about ArtScene, but you are essentially like actively removing the us versus them barriers in your events that you host, and the kind of like welcoming, motherly, free space, this quality that you give. It's like your energy fills up the room almost like a gas does within, a chamber within a lab. It just literally just, it fills up the space, but in a good way. It's not like a narcissistic, like, oh, everyone look at me, me, me. It's kind of like, I'm gonna take control of the room, but like, so you can be free and open. That's like a gut feeling that I've had every time I've come to one of the events. Like, you have it right on the wall, like, oh, this is a free, open space for everyone, but I could just feel it off of you too. And yeah, when you grab that mic and you take the center stage, like, it just, yeah, that's what I see. So that's the kind of the narrative I'm seeing when you tell me about struggling with like us versus them stuff. Like, you're essentially creating the wisdom from your wound. Is that?
Yeah, man.
Sorry,
No,
I
that's
overstep sometimes. I'm
no,
not
you're
saying
not
I'm
overstepping. That's really awesome, and I don't. Sometimes I don't know how I come off, and I try not to let insecurity. But that's beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah. I try to speak to the 16-year-old me, and that's why a lot of people who come to art scene are a little bit younger, and that's fine. Or some folks are younger, and they feel safe, and it's because I'm speaking to the part of me that needed to know that I wasn't a freak. That ترى عادي. ترى عادي. Like, you're gonna exist within this sphere, and you're not a freak, and there's so many people who are like you, and the more you hang around them and the more you feel safe, the more you feel safe in general, and the more you build that muscle of creating safety within spheres that maybe you don't technically feel very safe in, the more you can stay rooted and like grounded in your thing, in your whoever you are. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about ArtScene. What was its genesis? Where did the idea come from? Just tell me like the journey through creating it.
Art scene isn't art scene. It's actually Kuwait Poet Society, and that started with my sister. So she's gonna listen. Listen, if you watch this, it was my idea. No, I started writing poetry after my sister started writing poetry very early on. She's 7 years older than me. I live in her shadow. She's the coolest person ever. I wouldn't be nothing without my older sisters. Like, wow. I'm just the them that took it too far. Oh my God. Really, really. I'm them, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go all the way with this. You guys stepped into it. I'm gonna go all the way with this. But I started reading poetry, and then I performed a slam poem. This is back in the day when slam poetry was very, very cool. Or very, very cool to me. It's not cringy. We just, I think, collectively went into healing mode rather than angry mode. But I say collectively, there's still some people who are very angry, so that's okay. Um, I'm just collectivizing my own journey. I was gonna say, what was I saying? Yes, I performed poetry with word of mouth for the first time. I'm gonna name drop a ton of people. With word of mouth for the first time when I was like 15 at Shahid Park. And I thought it was crazy. I thought it was crazy. I performed a poem about drug addiction. Why? I was 15 and in a private school in Kuwait. Like, there's no reason to be performing that. But I was on Tumblr a lot. And then a poem about my mom. My parents were in the audience that day. It was nice. And then slowly we figured, okay, poetry. We started writing poetry together. And then I started writing poetry a little bit more, and then she moved back to Kuwait. She was a teacher at the time. And then we started doing poetry meetups. And then we built Kuwait Poet Society, which looks a lot like ArtScene does now. We did Voices and Verses for a while, which was like poetry and music and art. We were in Art Space. Art Space is so cool. This was 2015 to like 2017. And a lot of the people who were part of KPS are now like kind of still entering ArtScene and still coming back to ArtScene. It's always weird because it's like, oh, you knew me when I was 15 or 16. So yeah, I left when in 2017 they dissolved, or KPS like officially dissolved a year later, like 6 months later. And then I came back and I was on the phone with a creative coach, Nada Faris, because I was trying to write a book or something. I don't know. I was just trying to figure out my life. Because I came back after I graduated engineering school to teach math. I was like, what am I doing here? I was on the phone with my creative coach, I said her name already. And I was like, I just want to hang out with artists. Like, I just want to be creative with people. I want to do the art stuff that I do, but around people. Because I paint and I write and I make music and I do all these things. How do I bring community into this? And she said, do it. I said, what do you mean? And then she said, do it. What should you do? And I said, I guess I'll make a poster. So I made a poster and I logged into the old KPS account and I changed the name. I had a dream about the name, which now I should have listened to my sister. I wish I changed the name earlier on, but it's okay. We accept. It's a little cringe, but we're fine. It's too late now. It is. Yeah, I had a dream about the name. I had a dream about the logo. It didn't come out right, but we did it. And then I just started it. And we met at Art Studio in Fnatis. We met at Hema. We met in different areas around Kuwait. Until we found a little home in Arjan right now, which is beautiful.
Where do you see yourself taking ArtScene in the future? Like, what's the ideal version of ArtScene?
The plan for ArtScene is always going to be a third space. So a place where you can hang out, pick a craft, and just exist as a person outside of school and work, outside of home and work, or home and school. So the idea for ArtScene is always going to be community. And people are like, oh, this isn't real art. Like, they're not real artists. Like, they're just hobbyists or whatever. This is me. That's my sound, my voice, the other side of my brain. They're just hobbyists, whatever. Yeah. Because it's community. Because it's not about making the best art in the world. It's about using art as a way to express ourselves in a place, or in places where we're told we don't need to express ourselves, or the expression is not even frowned upon sometimes. So, and I'm not saying this only about Kuwait. I'm saying this about the world right now because of like capitalist endeavors and asking to just go to your job and then go home and then do your thing and whatever. So, No, it's not valued. And humans are creative. Humans want to dance and sing and write and paint on the cave walls, you know? So, yeah, art scene is always going to be a community space. What I do outside of art scene is going to be music. I want to build like music infrastructure that feels good in Kuwait and in the Gulf region. This is the plan.
So it's not just Kuwait, it's the Gulf.
For music, yeah, for sure. Art scene, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe I'll feel the need to build community elsewhere, but yeah, Kuwait's a cool starting point. I feel connected to folks. I feel like I can, like, if I want to hang out with people, I don't have to start my own. I don't know. Well, I did start my own, but I don't have to like dig out of the rubble people to meet, or you know what I mean. So yeah.
So I took a look at your Substack and some of your writing. By the way, do you have any poems on you? Like, do you have them memorized in your head, or can you like pull them up on your phone? Because I'd love to just like hear it.
Yeah, I do have poems.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it at the end though, because I'll ask some more questions. Okay. So you mentioned in this piece that you wrote.
This is so cool. This is so cool. I feel like I post this stuff and nobody reads it.
Well, no, something definitely. Yeah, it's called "Single Man: The Tension of Isolation and Community." And I quote, you said, "Happiness is only real when shared."
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's from Into the Wild.
Oh,
It's like, I think the last thing
you
that,
quoted it.
yeah,
Okay.
it even says the name of the guy.
Okay.
No, this is a quote from Into the Wild. Yeah, art is only cool when you share it. I mean,
Happiness, though, not art.
art and expression and
Yeah.
whatever, it's only cool when it's shared. I mean, it's fun to be happy alone, sure.
Okay.
Cool.
You can't just make art in a cave, banging on a cave wall by yourself.
You can.
Okay.
No, of course you can. And I've seen many people try to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What's next? Sure, you screamed in an empty forest. Done. Cool. What's next? What's next? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with that feeling?
Well, couldn't you just apply that to the community thing? Like, so what? Someone heard it. Like, what's the difference?
Someone heard it and held your hand and said me too. And then another person heard it and said and held your hand and said me too.
It's a point of connection.
Yeah.
Whereas one is just empty, not empty, but I guess it's expression. It's still expression.
It's expression, but what are you gonna do with that afterwards? It's fine. It's totally fine. And it's actually necessary. Being alone and working on your craft and working on your art is absolutely necessary, because then you can hear yourself. And when you hear yourself, you hear the struggle of the human within this society, within the world, within your own sphere.
Yeah.
And it's not about you. It's about like just the math around you, the function that you are. But then you say, okay, so I sat down, figured this out. Here it is. And then as you're reading it, people are like, oh wait, me too. 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 And when you come back from exploration, and especially when you come to people who don't have the luxury of exploration. Some of them have families, some of them don't have the time, whatever it is. And you say, this is what I found. And they say, oh my God, me too. Then that makes all the difference. Because you've given people words and explanations and expression of something that they haven't tapped into.
You're like making the pathway in the jungle. You're cutting out all the weeds and the trees, and you're making it easy to follow a path for others to go down, right?
I think so. Or at least you're doing it yourself, and then other people are like, wait, me too.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to come here too.
Okay.
Or you're cutting your own path, and you're making sure people know that they can find their own knives. Just by finding your own machete or whatever, then people are like, wait, where'd they find their machete? And then they look for their own machete.
Yeah, and I think like art is just, in just personal opinion, is just a way, it's the best way to connect deeply. Like, words can only go so far. Um, Obviously there's other means, but I feel like art is like it's it makes me feel a little less lonely when I, put on a song and hear an artist or whatever. But it's like, but it's deeper than just words. Like I can read a book and like I can relate to it, but music goes so deep in a way that like, or not just me, yeah, like art in general, I guess. It just goes, I don't know. It just goes so much more deeper than anything.
I don't think it's art in general. I think it's specifically music. Like when you say art in general, maybe like abstract stuff, but even then,
I guess so.
I think like Schopenhauer says, music is the pure expression of the will. Everything else is like a translation of that. Something like that, very loose. Don't quote me, but yeah, paraphrasing. But yeah, it's like music is something else. It's something else. It's the language of the universe or whatever it is, and you can't explain it. You can't use words. And as a writer, sometimes I try, and there's an essay where I try to talk about this jazz show I went to in Istanbul.
I know that was the Everyone's Dead Inside.
Everyone's inside, or everybody's inside dead. Yeah. And I tried to talk about how insane it was to watch this lady like go full into scatting, and she like levitated off the stage with this sax. And I can't say anything. And maybe better writers would be able to. Maybe people who are trained in creating visuals with their words and become are more intentional with their words and whatever it is, paint a picture. I don't know. I don't care. But you can't possibly describe the feeling of listening to music or being around a tree. This is a big thing for me. And whenever I'm around a tree, I'm like, how do I describe this? Do you know what I'm talking about? When you're around an insane tree, like the coolest, like a really cool tree. There's a.
I don't, because you can't describe it.
You can't describe it. You get it.
No, I don't actually know. Continue. There's a what?
It's unreal. I'm telling you, I can't describe it. I'm telling you, there's no words to describe the feeling of the azama. the pure power. Like, have you ever seen a tree and gone down on your knees? Sometimes I do that. Sometimes it's like, whoa, and you're down on your knees. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Or a mountain, like anything in nature. It's insane. But that's music. That's music. Music is, I think, nature, frequencies, whatever it is.
You're talking about being in awe? Like, is that a good
Yeah,
pronunciation?
yeah.
Yeah, being in awe.
But
Yeah.
but even there's no describing it. Awe.
No. Are you a tree hugger?
I do hug trees. Yeah.
Do you talk to them?
Yeah.
Do you name them?
I talk to all kinds of people.
Really?
All kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay.
But I talk to myself a lot.
Okay. Same. Yeah. I talk to myself a lot. What about bugs?
I love bugs. I bug watch a lot. If I could, I would choose the life of like a bug collector. But I just don't have the time.
Gotcha.
Not collector, but I would just watch bugs. I think I'm gonna do that. Like when I retire, at some point, I'm just gonna bug watch.
Do you think that, because us and them doesn't just apply to humans, it applies to things, right? And do you feel like that's an extrapolation of your wisdom wound or whatever it is, where it's like you even see nature in that sense, where it's like you're accepting the diversity within it, and it's not just like I'm right, you're wrong. It's like I accept you for who you are. Same thing what you're doing with art scene, but with nature and reality itself. Do you think you kind of do that, or am I stretching there?
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I did get to yeah, sure. Of course, I think that's important.
Yeah.
To just see
Yeah. Sorry.
to see bugs as humans or as animal behavior that we also follow. Yeah, for sure. The ants.
Yeah.
The ants are us, and we are the ants.
Giving it the same kind of space, right? Because it's easy for a human to look at a bug and judge it and go, oh, you're so weird. You guys, I mean, they are kind of weird, like the six legs, you know?
Yeah.
And they got this like little, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like you can judge it just like you judge another human being. You're judging otherness, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you kind of flip the script in the human realm and you start accepting diversity and otherness, and you see as it as like one whole thing and something to be embraced, you kind of naturally, I feel like, do that with nature itself, because nature is the ultimate weirdo outcast.
Oh, yeah.
It is the most bizarre, like the creatures that you see. You gotta be a special type of human to like, yeah, like look at a cockroach and be like, wow, how beautiful you and diverse and unique you are, you know? Because even cockroaches themselves, we kind of group them, you know? Okay, so humans have this thing, it's called outgroup homogeneity, where if person in the outgroup, I'll automatically assume they're all the same. So for example, like the stereotypes, like, oh, Asian people are all this way. That's the example of like outgroup homogeneity. I'm not treating them as individuals, whereas I treat my in-group as individuals.
Yeah.
The outgroup is just, oh, they're all the same.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to discriminate.
That's what I'm saying is like a lot of people, it's even in our community, or I say our community, but even like within art scene, will be like, oh, everybody else is different. I'm like, no. That's not how it works. We're just individuals living in individual worlds. You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to just be like, oh, إحنا غير من الماس.
Yes.
Or إحنا مو كذي. Yeah, it's so easy to just group a bunch of people and be like, ah.
Yeah. And do that to nature as well. To like whatever it is, bugs, animals, like, yeah, stuff like that.
I think it's crazy though. I think it's crazy how hard it is to convince some people to go on a hike. Are you serious? Hikes are like the biggest. And it's so stupid. Like hikes, it's not hikes. It's just being outside.
Yeah.
Just go outside. Go outside. Watch the water flow from a drain pipe. You know what I mean? Look at all the chairs. Shout out Karasi Fines, really. But look at all the chairs.
What is this rant? What is Cartesian finds? Because you mentioned it, I saw it. It's an Insta account where it just takes pictures of chairs.
Chairs, yeah.
But then it gets into the philosophy of a chair. Like,
Listen,
It's weird as hell.
listen, Aziz and Ahmed, I think Ahmed, yes, really hit the nail on the head. Really, I don't know them. I met them a little bit ago. They came to an art scene thing. But when I found Karasi Fans, I was like, this is insane. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's such a, I don't know how to explain it. It's such a big part of listening.
being a chair.
Finding chairs.
Oh.
For me, at least.
Oh, because it's so boring and mundane.
Yeah.
That only a person who has that capability of what you're saying to find beauty within the mundane. It's like a metaphor.
Yeah, there's chairs everywhere, man. But when you look at a chair, especially an empty chair or a chair that you know someone sits in every single day, whoa, that hit me emotionally. A chair that someone sits in every single day that holds them up and gives them rest and gives them safety.
Wow.
And is a form of their routine. And like as soon as that chair is taken away, they feel like something is being taken away from them. A big part of them is being taken away from them. Have you ever seen someone's chair being taken away? I work at a school. Sometimes you're in your office or you're in an office and someone's chair is being taken away. It's like the end of the world for them. Where's my chair? You know what I mean? Big, like really, chairs, huge thing. And when I found Karasi Finds, I was so excited, and I honestly don't know what else to do. All I do is look at Karasi and find them on the street and tag them. But
Yeah.
I've always it's been like a theme. But my grandfather had a chair, and once he passed, it was crazy to look at the chair and think of an entire history of a person sitting there after work, sitting there around family, sitting there when he was sick, or sitting there when he was in full, whatever the opposite of sick is that's taking me away, full health, through the time, through age. It's crazy. It's beautiful. Yeah, I kind of went on a little tangent there, but I talk about karate fans a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a good like analogy for your support, your community, the safe space, whatever it
Yeah, we're all
is.
karate in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just support. Yeah.
That's yeah, holding someone up.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. The philosophy of chairs. Um, okay, so I'm gonna pull out another quote here. I consider myself a connector. Aside from existing as an artist, I pick up the role of manager or event coordinator, or whatever you want to call banging on the cave walls to get some sort of murmur from the bear slumbering inside. It is often difficult because I must prove that it is worth coming out, that whatever garbage heap is burning outside in the studio or the farm or the writer's apartment is worth seeing and touching and being a part of. So why do you think people struggle with releasing their artistic creation? Why is there that resistance from your experience? Because, yeah,
Because it's so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable. It's so vulnerable. And sometimes I listen to the music of the people, or the music of the people that I know. This is big. This is a big deal. Or the writing of the people that I know. You read right through them. If you're really reading, they're naked in front of you, or really listening. They're naked in front of you, and they know it. And some people, I think, when you're really listening, some people do know it too. And so, especially in a local place where I know this musician, I know this writer, I know this artist, it's like spilling your guts. And for me, it's really hard to share my own work because yimkin, like 25% of the people in the audience know why I wrote this poem. Oh, and minu, you know, or where I was when I wrote this, or who I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So, and this is it really, it's really, really difficult because you're sharing your feelings to not just one person. It's not just a thought or in a conversation. It's a bunch of people, and you don't know where the art is gonna go. So, but the more personal, the more truthful it is, the better the art, I think.
Okay, so you need that vulnerability.
For sure.
And
So
that's-
it's hard.
Yeah.
And but that's the point, is that you're the screaming. You
Yeah.
scream in the forest by yourself, and then you come back and you say, okay, I recorded the scream, and it might be a little crazy to hear it, but try to listen to it, and then everyone's like, oh my god, I've always wanted to scream like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the point, is that you connect with others through your insanity, through your expression.
have you personally helped artists push them, I guess, or be a catalyst for them in some sort, or help someone release vulnerable art before?
I've tried, yeah. I mean, I try to push people. I think doing it yourself is a lot easier than convincing other people to do it. So when I started writing the essays, um, I'm seeing like more people sharing their writing with me and with other people. Um, what, like, starting ArtScene was just a lesson in being vulnerable around people. So when I would do the hangouts, because we were just doing open medium hangouts, I would go and I would intentionally like draw a bad drawing. I'm not an artist. I'm not a visual artist, or I'm not like self-proclaimed visual artist or whatever it is. But I would go and do bad visual art so that so that the people around me felt safe enough to do whatever visual art they wanted to do. And it wasn't this like unattainable gate kept thing. It's just something that you're doing to express. And then I would go into the music. I'm trying here. Music is difficult for me.
It's hard, yeah.
Music is really difficult for me to express because of the taboo and growing up. But I try to go into the music circle and I try to be vulnerable and to say, okay, even if you're not that great, like express yourself. Even if you haven't been doing this for 100 or not 100, 1,000 hours or whatever they say. You still express yourself, still push your way through. The only way you're gonna learn is through other people and through the things that you're being pushed towards.
Yeah.
So the more you do it, the more other people want to do it. That's what I'm
Leading
saying.
by example.
Yeah. But you can also tell someone, hey, you should just stop getting stuck in the same pattern, yo. Like every one of your poems sounds the same. Like try something new.
Okay. Another quote. It's not to say that all artists are the same, but isolationist artists are quite often are. Obsessive artists quite often are. The reality is they do not know what to do, so they've retreated into some sort of protective abyss that blinds them to the dirt underneath the fingernails. They've decided it's enough. The stumbling and the fumbling, and the issues with their approach so far is too much. So strumming along or sketching the eyes of the man they see themselves in is the best they can do. So that's the same.
It's the same thing. It's like, okay, you scream in the forest,
Yeah.
and then you just continue to scream. Sure, you like learn how to scream in different ways. You learn different pitches for the scream. You learn
Yes.
how to produce your own scream. You learn how to self-publish your scream. It's not going to be anything without the listener. It's not going to be anything without the audience, because then you're just screaming and learning how to produce a scream.
Okay. What about like, okay, so that's interesting because I recently read Rick Rubin in his book. He talks, part of his philosophy is when you're creating art, as soon as you're creating art for yourself, but as soon as you create art with the audience in mind, it turns into a business or product or a commodity. So he kind of has that philosophy. What do you think about that? Is that, I'm not saying it's correct, it's just his way of doing things. How do you contrast that with what you just said right now?
I'm not saying create art for the audience. Create art for yourself, then share it.
That's important to know because people can get confused there.
No, then share it.
Yeah.
Do the thing for yourself,
Yes.
then share it. People can tell when you're doing art for the audience. For sure.
Yeah,
It's
like
so obvious
gut feeling, yeah.
because you're not there's no authenticity to it.
Yeah.
There's just like the big themes in life. Like you're gonna write a poem about whatever, and it just gets watered down to stereotypes of how feelings are. But when you're writing about yourself or about your own experience or making music from your own self, then you can tell. Or then I don't know what I was saying, but then you can then you're making art. Maybe I don't know, but I kind of flew off that sentence. But
you agree with the Rick Rubin philosophy?
yeah, don't make art for other people. Make art for yourself. Then share it with other people.
Then share. I feel like that's important.
Yeah. Big difference. Big difference. Scream in the forest by yourself,
Yeah.
and then release the scream.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's systematic in that way. You have to kind of be an isolationist in the beginning. Maybe that's why so many good artists are isolationists, but they struggle in the transition.
Exactly. And
Whereas other people who are not artists are so good at the other part.
yeah, at the being around people. For sure, it's attention. That's the whole point is that you like come in, and I try to say this in the circles a lot.
Yeah.
Where we're meeting once a month. People are like, we want to meet once a week. We want to meet twice a week. I'm like, it's not the point. It's like, come meet people, get sparked by the idea, then go home and draw. Go home and listen to yourself. Go home and write. Go home and make music. Don't depend on other people for your art. It's difficult to do that. Like, you're just gonna end up
Yeah.
a mix of everybody else's feelings and thoughts.
Yes.
And that's the tension between the single man, the tension of isolation and community. And then I'll throw one more at you. With questions of language and accessibility, of outcastness created by this need to feel unique, I wonder if the echoes are loud enough for folks, for me, to realize there is no us, there is no them. There's only fingers reaching across the infinite, trying to get a closer look at themselves. Yeah, so that's a nice little closer. This is something I really struggle with, is this outcast complex. And I brought this up to you before, but I feel like identifying as an outcast it's just like what you were saying. Like the more you say it, the more you act that way, and the more people treat you that way. And I recognize that, yeah, it's done a lot of good for me. Like I feel like I do things not according to what other people want me to do. I kind of explore my curiosity in that way, right? I'm not trying to sound pretentious, but I just kind of do my own thing. Like I like that.
And there's like a privilege in being an outcast too.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
people kind of just brush you off. They're like, "Oh, she's a weirdo."
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But it comes at a cost. Like I feel like the negative parts of it are I won't want to share or get support, or I won't, you know what it really is at its core? I had no chair in the past, and I feel hesitant to sit on a chair, or it feels uncomfortable, or it feels like the chair is going to be, or the chair is going to be pulled out at any moment, and I have to be on guard. So, yeah, do you relate to that, or I don't know?
Yeah, of course, because sometimes I feel like I'm other people's chairs, and it's difficult to find my own. For sure, it's difficult to find my own, and when I do find it, sometimes I'm like, ew, who would ever want to sit? But I'm actively asking people to come sit onto the chair. So yeah, I understand you, and it's difficult. And when you don't have a support system growing up, or you don't feel supported in the system that you're in, the easiest thing to do, or the natural thing to do, is to just support yourself consistently and constantly, and then you get resentment because you had to support yourself consistently and constantly. But again, the wisdom from your wounds is to start supporting other people and accepting then, and I'm slowly trying to figure this out, is accepting that they will support you back. And this is a huge thing, especially when it comes financially. Oh my God.
What?
This is a huge lesson I'm learning with ArtScene and with community, is that I paid out of pocket for a year and a half. Every event was out of pocket. Everything that I was doing was out of pocket. I was working, and then I would spend my salary on bringing people together and making them have fun and throwing these events and stuff. But then I said, wait, I'm trying to support other people by collecting them in a space, and giving them access to places where they feel like, hey, this is kind of like home, like other people are gonna accept me as I am. So why shouldn't it be a collective effort? Why am I putting it on me to be everybody's chair when we can all just be each other's chairs? You know what I mean? So I stopped trying to pay out of pocket. That was the first thing. I was like, okay, let me try to just make or break even so that I'm not in the negatives every time I do something. And people were like, yeah. To me, that was crazy. I was like, what do you mean, yeah, you're going to pay to be in the space? They were like, yeah, like I love being in the space, and if I need to pay for the room, I'll pay for the room. I was like, wait, are you sure? Are you sure? And they said, yeah, if I could support in any way. And then they started volunteering. And then people just see it. They see that it's huge to be a chair or to be sitting in a chair or to just, I love that you use this metaphor, but now it's stuck, is to create a support system, a foundation. And so, yeah, I really, it took me a while to move into nonprofit, into like realizing that just because it's a community platform, doesn't mean that I can't ask for support back. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make like millions of dollars or whatever. That's not ArtScene, but I'm trying to like make this a self-supporting system, and make this like you're part of the community, so be a part of the community, and give back as you take, you receive, and as you receive, you take.
It's the epitome of the chair. ArtScene is the grand chair.
I'm gonna start putting chairs around, man.
You should make that your logo.
The chair.
Just a effing chair.
This is beautiful. This is great.
Okay. Well, I want to hear your poem. We can end it on that.
Okay.
Do you have one with you, or do you know it by head?
I do. I don't have I don't have it memorized. I kind of do, but I'm not gonna try.
Pull it up, you're good.
This was a poem. Should I preface it?
Yeah. However.
This was a poem I wrote at the epitome of like this in between two worlds thing that I was living in. Which we can, I mean, you could talk endlessly about diaspora and being a Palestinian and an American and living in Kuwait and whatever, but it was at the time where the Muslim ban was in effect, but also Mashroor Leila, a Lebanese band, was being, how do I move through these words without saying very specific things? Mashroor Leila was being persecuted.
Okay. What's her name?
Mashroor Leila.
Mashroor Leila?
Yeah.
Mashroor, yeah, okay. Okay.
And I wrote this poem.
This is a Palestinian group?
They're Lebanese.
Sorry, okay.
After this song, Kalam. It's called Muslim Ban. And which of them will finally turn me away? Which will dissect the foreign? Cut it out with a knife and place it on dirty airport floor, a makeshift runway. I say my name and they ask me how well I know it, if I'm willing to make love to its letters, turn doubt to liquid and bathe in it. Do you touch as sweet as you dance? Do you dance even with the engraving, even with the borders they have etched into us? Which sky or hell or grave will house our skin when there is nowhere left to go? You say your name and ask if you are allowed in. You say your name and ask if you are allowed in. You say your name and they have already made love to its disappearance. You take off in clean clothes caked with blood. We hold hands in one country, laugh aloud in the other, do both only in line at security, before the amputation. We are whole for a few minutes, makeshift runaways. We say our names and there is nothing more. We say our names and the skin revives itself, grows over all the teeth marks. والجلد بكشد الكلام.
All right, Areej, this was a pleasure. Yeah, I see you as a really important part of Kuwait and its culture, and your willingness, your effort to make a chair for everyone is amazing. And that's really what I wanted to invite you on, because I feel like, yeah, you're young, you're already like doing a lot within the community. And yeah, it's amazing to see. And I think it's important. So do you have any parting thoughts you want to give to the listener, to me, to yourself? You can shout in the forest and then
Shout in the forest and then
Let us
share
know.
them.
Yeah.
Do it. Also, just do it. Just do it. Just do the thing. Do it. It's cool to do
Right.
it.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.